voice from Mr. D.K. Mittal, former banking secretary and someone who understands policy very, very clearly and will have a great view on this. Mr. Mittal, I'm just wondering, how much of a real impact is it for Indian exports? How much of a hit is it, if at all, to the Indian economy? How do you see this panning out at 25% plus penalties? We don't know what that plus is.
Yes, so we could expect that from the United States because the present administration believes in threatening countries. So this is no surprise. Insofar as impact on India is concerned, we need to divide into two parts. One, where the duties on our competitor countries are more than us. We don't have to worry much, except do the trade facilitation, reduce their cost of doing business in terms of exports and everything, whatever we can do. And there are measures which we can do, including extending credit to them from our Exim Bank and other sources. So all that is possible. The second category would be where my competitor countries have duties less than me. There I have to really seriously think, how do we make them more competitive? It is unfair and unfortunate that in the global economy, when India plays such an important part, that US is treating us like any other country. It is for them to decide. When they want us for things which we all know, for managing our neighborhood, and which is also their competitor, they need us. And when there's a question of giving trade to India, then they want to treat us like us. So that's a fair thing from the United States. But let me add, United States, it is politics which does everything, and politics is driven by corporates and business interests. So India should be smart enough to identify key business interests which are with the present administration, work with them, and see that what we can do. Because good part is you can do things through the political setup.
I'm wondering, Mr. Mittal, in your view, what should be India's response at this point to this kind of a post?
We should not panic at all. It is a long-term game. It's a long race. Let's not panic. Nothing happens in 3 months, 6 months' time. I know there will be some pain to some of the industries. I agree with that. But that's what we need to see that how do we help them out. We should sustain this assault which is happening on every country, including India. And we should really find ways to do that. There would be ways to do that.
No,
and if we buckle, the problem is if we buckle and agree to everything, whatever they want. For example, they want evergreening of the, the IPRs. I mean, how can we do that?
Yeah.
They want access to my agriculture market. How can we do that? No country gives access. What are we talking about, India? Which country gives agriculture access, without any limitation? No country does it. So I don't think we really need to bother much about it. Yes, US is a critical partner for us, but that does not mean that we buckle down to a level which ultimately destroys my country. You see, they have done that in WTO negotiation 2008, 2009, when they wanted almost zero duty on all non-agriculture products. And they put a huge pressure on administration, including that time the nuclear deal. But we must admit that the bureaucracy at that time and the political setup stood up to that pressure. The pressure was immense. It was much, much greater than what it is today. Because today the pressure is on everybody. That time the pressure was only India. Because only India was standing up in WTO on this.
Does it make sense, Mr. Mittal, for India now to start conversations with other countries that have been at the receiving end of this? And you're saying we should not buckle. For example, we know that access to genetically modified foods was one of the sticking points. And India said, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to feed our population genetic modified food. So now what should be the strategy? Is it time that we start talking to other nations that are also now tired of this situation?
So, see, in this scenario, I don't think it will be a good idea to really annoy the United States for beyond your point. What we should do, we should keep our head low and keep standing on the ground and keep talking to them. And look at the system, how does it work in the United States? I think those who are in the government, they know pretty well that how the system works. That is the only way to manage it. So there isn't a point in creating a group against the United States. That will not work.
Okay, so then, but realistically, sir, what concessions do you think India can make without compromising its core economic interests?
If they want they don't have any manufacturing in the country except some limited items. We have no problem with those items. But they want access in, for example, intellectual property. We can't do that. They want access in agriculture item. We can't do that. That is not possible. We are a country of 150 crore population, highly dependent on agriculture. How can we do that with a country where the per capita land availability is 10,000 acres against half acre in my country? So that is not possible. We need to understand them. We need to make them understand repeatedly at different levels. We have done that earlier. So it is not something to deal with US is so difficult. No. We have to have our own strategy to deal, and I'm sure government will be having some strategy. But we must stand up, keep our head low, but stand up on an argument and see that how we mitigate this pain which has been caused by the US by putting up these tariffs. Conversation with the US is the only thing.
Conversation is the only thing. How do you converse when it's a one-sided conversation where tariffs are being used as a stick again and again, as a threat again and again? That's the question. Parag Thakkar, you know, we've had so many views on how the markets will react tomorrow if there is a drop at opening, and I think it's clearly going to be a gap down. I think 150, 160 points down is what the Nifty implied is looking like right now. We may be seeing that deepen by tomorrow morning unless there's some kind of a response from the Indian government.